Good morning, everyone. My name's Steve Young, and I'd like to call this November 3rd, 2022 special meeting of the NMU Board of Trustees to order. And I would ask Secretary Andrew to please take the roll.
Trustee Young,
Present.
Trustee Hart,
Here.
Trustee Mahaney,
Here.
Trustee Savoy,
Here.
Trustee Fatante,
Here.
Trustee Morgan,
Here.
Trustee Sepinen,
Here.
Trustee Holmquist, Trustee Holmquist. I see she's on, but it looks like she's,
She said,
she said it here.
She's here.
All right, we have a quorum with 8 trustees present.
Excellent. Thank you, Secretary Andrew. Have we had any requests to address the board at the special meeting?
We do. We have Mr. James Gallant. I will admit him into the meeting.
Okay.
And
Okay,
Mr. Gallant is on.
Okay. Mr. Gallant, we appreciate your request to address the board. I know you've asked for an extra 2 minutes, I believe. So we've allotted 5 minutes, and at 5 minutes, we'll alert you if you haven't stopped by then. So please proceed, and thank you for being with us.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. My name is James Gallant, and I'm with the Marquette County Suicide Prevention Coalition, and these are my opinions. And so first of all, I'd like to ask you to revisit your bylaws and your public comment rules at your next meeting in December, because the rules that were sent to me by your secretary do not address special meetings. It just talks about regular board meetings, regularly scheduled board meetings. And that I see public comment is not on your agenda today. And so the 5-day notice, because you only gave the notice, this public notice is yesterday, but the rule is a 5-day notice to give public comment. And so that should be revisited. If you could please revisit your bylaws in December, on the agenda in December, so we could go through a few things. And also concerning your financial audits, I ask you to revisit an issue that had came up several times in the past, and with Chairman Pop and Chairman Mahaney had both stated that they would review the appropriate level of comprehensive mental health services provided by the university that are represented by those numbers in that audit. So this is what it costs for comprehensive mental health services. And Chairman Mahaney in the past had said that they were going, on the record, when I requested this in the past, it was a couple years ago, and he said that the university would revisit the mental health services, would review the state and federal laws, and ensure the compliance by the university. And that's including the MCL 330.1712. That's the individualized plan of services under the Michigan Mental Health Code. And in that, the IPOS is required to address 9 categories in a person's life. It's food, shelter, clothing, medical care, transportation, education, recreation, and needs for legal services. And that seems to be the missing component in Michigan, in the system of care, Northern Michigan University services that you provide, is assessing needs for legal services, because that's not generally on a nationally validated assessment tool, which is used by the university and is required by the department. But in Michigan, there's a couple of extra components, and one is these needs for legal services. So I'd ask you to request a report and recommendation from, guess I'm not sure who that would be, the president, on down the line to the review, because there must have been a review. What are the state laws? What are the federal laws? Do your services comply with that?
Okay.
And the mental health services. So please do that. And thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments, Mr. Gallant. And I would now move on to the audit and financial statements. And I would call on our Chair of Finance Committee, Trustee Mahaney, to introduce this topic.
Mr. Chair, I believe that falls upon me.
Yep.
The Finance Committee of Northern Michigan University met earlier this week, I believe it was on Tuesday, with Vice President of Finance and Administration, Gavin Leach, and the Finance and Accounting staff, along with representatives from Raymond and Company, our external auditors, to review the draft audited financial statement report. And to go into further detail on that, I would like to ask Vice President Leach to add his comments prior to making a motion to accept.
Excellent. Gavin?
Thanks, Trustee Mahaney. Yeah, we met on Tuesday with the Raymond Group, and we brought them here to do a quick overview of their audit and their opinion. And then we'll turn it back over to you, Bob, because we'll need a motion for the board to accept the audited financial statements. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Steve Peacock and Mr. Joshua Sullivan for a quick overview of the audited financial statements for fiscal year 21-22.
Morning, everybody. My name is Steve Peacock, and thank you for having me. We will do a brief highlight overview of the financial statements and the audit report for Northern for the year ended 21-22, as Gavin had mentioned. It's my understanding you have a final PDF of the document, and I will take you to page 22 of the report, or 24 of the PDF, which is the first letterhead document that Raymond has in this report. And it's titled Independent Auditor's Report. The content of that document talks about the financial statements that we were engaged to audit, which is the universities as of June 30th, 2022, with comparable information for 2021. Our opinion is unmodified or is clean. That is the highest level of assurance that we can place on financial statements. So that's the gold star that every client of ours wants to get, and you have received that. Just a couple other points to note. The university did adopt a new lease standard, GASB 87, that is discussed at the top of page 2 of the opinion, and also in footnotes A, E, and H to the financial statements. So there's more riveting information for the lease pronouncement in those areas. The other item to note is there is some required supplementary information that is included in that big bound document that you have, such as the management's discussion and analysis, which is before the opinion, and then all of the tables related to your pension and OPEB liabilities that is after the footnotes. Those are documents that are not audited by the audit firm, but they are reviewed to make sure that they are consistent with the financial statements that we opine thereon, meaning that the management's discussion and analysis is prepared by management, so we are not involved in that, although we do assist with some of the numbers and table formatting, but we do not prepare that document, so that is unaudited. But again, we do review that to make sure it's consistent. And then the pension and OPEB tables that appear after the footnote, those are prepared primarily by the state during the audit of the pension plans. So that information is disseminated after your footnotes in the tables that follow the footnotes. So we review those and make sure that those are appropriate and get the respective journal entries into the books of the university. Any questions on the audit report? Seeing none, Josh, I will turn over to you for some financial highlights.
Thank you very much, Steve. My name's Josh Sullivan. I'm an audit principal out of our Traverse City office working with the university. So I just wanted to hit some highlights in your statement of net position and the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. So if you direct yourself to page 25 of the document or PDF page 27, you'll see the statement of net position. Overall, assets are up approximately 29 million year over year. The largest change in that is the unspent bond proceeds that you're seeing in the restricted cash line item in there. Additionally, liabilities are up approximately 8 million, and that's a result of the new bonds that were issued in December of 21. That's offset by significant reductions in your pension and OPEB liabilities. Both of those liabilities came down significantly year over year. Overall, at the bottom of the page, you'll see that your total net position is up approximately $9 million year over year. And this is further explained on the next page, page 26, your statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. So on the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position, you will see operating revenues are up approximately 12 million. That's tuition is up approximately 5 million, housing up approximately 3.5 million. And this was a result of a couple of items, students being back on campus, as well as increases in tuition rates, and also the timing of your summer courses. Those started earlier in the summer this year, and therefore there was more days that you would recognize as revenue in fiscal 22 as compared to fiscal 21. Operating expenses are up approximately 10.4 million. Most of that is in the student services as a result of students being back on campus, as well as athletics being back going in fiscal year 22. The last section in there is your net or your non-operating revenues, and those are down approximately 25 million due to a couple of factors. The market had a significant effect on your investment portfolio, which reduced that investment portfolio. The unrealized gains on those as well as the HERF, or the Higher Education Emergency Relief Funds, as well as the federal coronavirus relief funds. Those funds that you got from the feds, and you had certain items that you had to spend those on, and more of that money was spent in the prior year than in the current year. So you had approximately 20 million used in 21 and 13 million used in 22. Any question, or at the end of the day, this is an increase in net position of approximately 9 million in the current year. Any questions on those two statements? Last thing I'd like to highlight is, just as Steve kind of alluded to already, there is the new leasing standard that was implemented by the university during the year. You will see some additional footnotes regarding that. Footnote H is the one that really speaks mostly about that, and that's on page 46. And then additionally, there was a subsequent event, a material subsequent event you'll see on page 65, where the state made an additional payment to the university that was then passed on to the MIPSERS plan in the amount of approximately 29 million. And what that'll mean for the university will be that the pension liability in the future should be greatly reduced as a result of that. So the state had over a $30 million or $300 million that was given to this plan. And so moving on to fiscal 23, you should see additional reductions in that pension plan as a result. But to summarize everything, as Steve mentioned, a clean, unmodified audit opinion on the financial statements, and overall the net position of the university remains strong. In that, the last item then as well would be that in your packet there is a additional management, or a SAS letter, or a communication with those charged with governance. It's just another required communication letter that we have to issue as part of our audit, but no significant issues as a result of performing the audit noted in there.
And that memo is typically a summarization of the audit. So there's nothing in that letter that you would not find in the audit report as well, or our engagement letters. So no matters to report.
All right, thanks, Steve and Josh. Bob, I'll turn it back over to you at this point.
Thank you, Gavin. Thank you, Steve and Josh. And as we said on Tuesday, we appreciate all the good work and high quality professionalism that Raymond brings to our audit. Thank you for your work this year. So with that, Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion. My motion is that I move that the NMU Board of Trustees accept the audited financial statements for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion regarding the motion?
The only comment I would like to make is that if you read the audited financial statements and take time to read through them, it clearly demonstrates, in my opinion, the fiscal stewardship, the strong fiscal stewardship that has been deployed at Northern over the years. And credit to everybody in leadership, especially Vice President Leach, President Schuling. We're very fortunate to have the strong balance sheet that we have, and it creates wonderful opportunities for the university going forward. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would just echo that. I made some notes, and Bob, Trustee Mahaney pretty much covered it. The gold star rating, which we hear consistently at this time of year when we have our audits, is something we should not take for granted. And it's something that I know I am very appreciative of, and the hard work Gavin and his team has done, helping us in the financials. So is there any other comments or discussion? If not, Secretary Andrew, we call the roll on the motion, please.
Please indicate with yes or no. Trustee Young,
Yes.
trustee Hart,
Yes.
trustee Mahaney,
Yes.
trustee Savoy,
Yes.
trustee Fatante,
Yes.
trustee Morgan,
Yes.
trustee Sepinen,
Yes.
trustee Holmquist.
Yes.
Motion carries with 8-4-0 against.
Thank you. And thanks again, Gavin, and to the audit team for your presentation this morning.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Steve.
Bye.
Appreciate the team.
Our next agenda item is a required state building authority resolutions. And I will again call on the chair of finance, trustee Mahaney, to tell us what this is.
This matter has to deal with a standard procedure that is required of the state building authority whenever the state is assisting in the funding of a real property asset or a facility improvement or construction. Vice President Leach can explain this far quicker and easier than I can, so I'm going to turn it over to him again. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Yeah, just real quick is when we have a state building authority project funded by the state, there's some required filings that we need to do with the state of Michigan. And part of that is approving a resolution that's for construction completion assurance agreement with the state, a conveyance of property with the state, a lease and an easement if necessary. And what this does is, as the state building authority issues bonds, it enables them to have an interest in the property, and the state of Michigan, through their appropriation, issues lease payments back to the state building authority until the project is paid off on the state bond side, which is issued through the state building authority. Upon that completion, everything gets conveyed back to the university, and we go forward as normal. This has happened on every state building authority project we've had on our campus. So part of it's really standard procedure that's required on these types of projects.
Thank you, Mr. Leach. So with that, Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion at this time. I move that the NMU Board of Trustees approve the State Building Authority resolution approving a construction and completion assurance agreement, a conveyance of property, a lease and easement agreement, if necessary, for the Northern Michigan University Career Tech and Engineering Technology Facility.
Support.
Do we have a second? Excuse me. Is there any discussion? Can I ask a question? Is this, Gavin, is there another resolution or just this one?
It's just one resolution.
So we just need to just one motion that covers it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I don't see any hands for discussion. So Secretary Andrew, will you please call the roll?
Please indicate with yes or no. Trustee Young,
Yes.
trustee Hart,
Yes.
trustee Mahaney,
Yes.
trustee Savoy,
Yes.
trustee Fatante,
Yes.
trustee Morgan,
Yes.
trustee Sepinen,
Yes.
trustee Holmquist.
Yes.
Motion carries with 8-4-0 against.
Okay, thank you. And thanks, Gavin and trustee Mahaney for that discussion. The next agenda item is recommendations for trustee emeritus status. And I would just point out that on this, our procedures and policies basically indicate that the executive committee may make recommendations to the full board regarding emeritus status for former trustees that meet certain criteria to serve, that have served on our board, that meet certain criteria. Executive committee met recently, and what I'm going to do at this time, providing that's okay with the board, is have Vice Chair Alexis Hart tell us about that meeting and recommendations. So trustee Hart.
Thank you, Chair Young. Serving as a trustee is one of the highest forms of public service in the state, and trustees serve without remuneration and devote their time and expertise to the institutions they serve. For those board members who have served with dedication and distinction, there is a special designation of Trustee Emeritus. As Chair Young mentioned, these nominations for Trustee Emeritus are considered by the Executive Committee and recommended to the Board of Trustees for approval. The Executive Committee has met and after due consideration makes the following recommendations of emeritus status for Stephen M. Mitchell and James K. Haveman. Former Trustee Mitchell served with distinction on the board from 2013 to 2020. Steve served as the chair of the Academic Affairs Committee and vice chair of the Board of Trustees. In 2020, Steve served as the chairman of the Board of Trustees during the unique and demanding year with the onset of COVID. His commitment to the university is marked with his dogged focus on the university's enrollment, efforts towards student success, and many others. Former Trustee Haveman served as a distinguished member of the Board of Trustees from 2017 to 2020. Jim served twice as the chairman of the Finance Committee. Jim was a champion for students, rural health, and mental health. He has remained dedicated to the university even after his tenure on the board with his efforts around mental health on campus. Jim is also a long-term donor for Northern Michigan University, a longtime donor. With that, I move that the Board of Trustees grant former trustees Stephen M. Mitchell and James K. Haveman the title of Trustee Emeritus with all the rights, privileges, and honors associated with that designation.
I support
Thank
that
you.
recommendation.
Okay, we have a second. Thank you, Vice Chair Hart, for that much more thorough explanation than I did at the beginning, and that for that background. It's very, very helpful, and I'm glad that you took the time to point out some of the highlights, and those are highlights of the two individuals that we're talking about this morning in terms of emeritus status. So we have a motion and a second. Now we have an opportunity for discussion. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands here, so I think I have everybody on the screen. So, oh, sorry, Tammy, sorry.
I was looking for
Trustee-
how to raise my hand. I had the privilege of serving with both Steve and with Jim as a trustee, and the two of them were very dedicated to Northern, really put a lot of thought, concern, time, and care into their service on behalf of Northern Michigan University, and I'm happy to support this.
Thank you, Trustee Savoy. Anybody else? I don't want to miss a hand here or anything. I'm doing the best I can, so I don't see anything. So I will ask at this time, Secretary Andrew to call the roll on the motion made by Trustee Hart and seconded by Fatanti.
Please indicate with yes or no. Trustee Young,
Yes.
Trustee Hart,
Yes.
Trustee Mahaney,
Yes.
Trustee Savoy,
Yes.
Trustee Fatante,
Yes.
Trustee Morgan,
Yes.
Trustee Sepinen,
Yes.
Trustee Holmquist.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-4, against.
Thank you, and thank you to the board, and congratulations to our two newest members that are Trustee Emeriti, Trustees Haveman and Mitchell. I believe, Secretary Andrew, if you would follow up with the two individuals, and because I believe we invite them to a future board meeting to appear in person where we can recognize them more appropriately in terms of their efforts. So if you would do that and let us know what those dates might be for their joining us for that. Okay, that concludes the business we have at hand. So I would make a motion to adjourn, and all those in favor? Okay, I see everybody mouthing aye. All right, I think we have everybody said aye. So with that, I would adjourn this special meeting of the NMU Board of Trustees. Thank you all.
Thank you.